Hello and welcome to season 2, episode number 8 of Marketing Nuggets with Gabriella Ferenci. That's my name. And I'm a German and Hungarian language teacher, language coach. I'm based in London, in the UK, and I run a boutique language training company here. It's called ProLingua Global. And I specialize in working with corporate leaders in the financial services industry. Now, in January 2021, I started a passion project that I like to call Thrive Online. And it's a place where I share the nitty-gritty of practical, modern online marketing with fellow language professionals. And this show is also part of that. Now, in this marketing nugget, I'm talking to Paul Salloway. I met Paul online, actually, after he reached out to me through a connection. We both know Bryn Bonino, who I happened to interview actually as well in one of our earlier episodes. And we talked about online collaborations, guest blogging, and Paul being here and me chatting with him is actually a testament to how powerful online networking actually is, which we talked about with Bryn herself. Now, I met Paul, we had a great chat, connected immediately. There are so many things we have in common because, our interest and professional work in languages, in marketing, websites, all those sort of things. I'm very pleased to have him on the show. He's joining us from the outskirts of Tokyo. And as we are recording, the Olympic Games are still on. So it's a very interesting place to be for sure at the moment. So Paul, hello and welcome. Thank you so much for accepting my invitation to be interviewed on the Marketing Nuggets podcast.
Yeah, hi, Gabriella. Yeah, thank you for inviting me. I'm very pleased to be here. Thank you.
Let's dive right into it. And my first question would be about your story. I mean, what takes you over to Tokyo, to the outskirts of Tokyo, and just generally, what is your language background and how did you end up doing BabelTEQ?
Sure. Yeah. First of all, I come from Australia, so that's where I'm from Brisbane, actually, which is that's just been announced. They're the 2032 Olympic Games city, so it's a bit of a coincidence there. But anyway, so I come from Australia, and I guess I'm from a corporate background originally, so not an education orientated one. But in the early 2000s, I decided I was looking for a bit of a change of direction, and I was always kind of interested in the idea of teaching business English and business communication skills. And I had visited Japan previously, and I thought it was a pretty interesting place, pretty interesting culture. So I packed my bags and headed for Japan. I started teaching business English in the early 2000s. Around about 2008, I started a web marketing and web consulting business of my own. Because I felt that, I met a lot of foreigners who were here in Japan and who were wanting to start their own online businesses. And they really needed some help, and I thought that was an opportunity. So I started my own web consulting and marketing business around that time. But I continued doing some teaching as well, even through that time, because it's the nature of consulting. I guess, as maybe Gabriella, that your income can go up and down quite a bit. So the teaching was a nice, steady side gig to have. I've taught all kinds of students, mostly adults, but groups, one-to-one, lots of business classes, of course. I've taught senior citizens in community centres, even senior citizens in Zoom groups online last year during the pandemic. So that was different. So that was my background, and through all this time, I heard from friends of mine who were teachers, language professionals, that they weren't really happy with their situation of working for the big companies. They felt like year after year they're seeing their conditions deteriorate, opportunities disappearing, but they felt as though there were barriers to them becoming fully independent and really taking control of their own career. And so I thought about that, and I thought about my own background as someone who comes from a language teaching background, plus my marketing and web consulting experience, I thought that I had the right kind of skills and expertise to really help them out. So that was the motivation behind starting BabelTEQ, which is an online platform where teachers who want to become independent can quickly create their own web destination. They can get a ready-made, professionally designed, easily customizable website solution for an affordable monthly fee. So that's how BabelTEQ came about.
Perfect. And so basically you help language teachers create, so your niche is you specialize in working with English language teachers, but
yes,
just because that's your niche, it doesn't mean that that other language teachers are not welcome, of course.
No.
However, what I'm interested in is that, so you create all these different websites for them, easy to customize, easy to use. Where do you think we can go wrong if we decide to DIY the website for ourselves? Like, what could be the potential pitfalls with services like WordPress, Wix, Squarespace, and the like, and how can you actually help overcome those pitfalls? BabelTEQ.
Yeah. Well, I guess that there's a few options that you have as someone who wants to start your own online business. You can, of course, go out and hire someone to create a site for you. So, that can be expensive, and you don't always know what you're getting in terms of like the skill and reliability of the person that you're hiring. The alternative is, as you said, the DIY, going on to, say, something like Wix or Squarespace or Weebly or one of these other web builder type platforms. Now, a lot of people, I think, will say things about Wix like it's got a big learning curve. I think, to be fair, like any kind of complex solution is going to have some sort of learning curve. I hear people will say, oh, it's bad for SEO, like the Wix pages always rank really badly in Google. I don't know. I haven't seen convincing evidence one way or the other of that. What I will say, though, about these types of DIY platforms is, from what I have seen, they have a lot of starter templates, okay? But they also are trying to cover like every possible corner of the market. Like they've got templates to cover everything from online t-shirt sales to like car mechanics to like wedding planners, whatever. So there might only be like a small number of templates that even are remotely relevant to what you're doing. And even that, I think, from what I've seen, it appears that the templates which they offer were created by designers, not marketers. And I think that's an important distinction, because a designer is someone who gets paid to create pretty things, whereas a marketer is someone who gets paid to get the cash register ringing. And so, to tell you a slightly embarrassing story, so like when I first started business for myself, people told me, oh, you've got to have business cards. You've got to have business cards. So one of the first things I did was I went out and I hired someone to make me some nice business cards, and they were pretty nice. And I printed a stack of them. And to everyone I met, I just hand out my business card. I even had a couple of friends who were doing like distribution of my business card for me. And we did this for a couple of weeks, and I reckon I handed out a few hundred cards, and you know what happened? Nothing. Zero. So crickets. And to me, these templates that Wix has reminds me a lot of those business cards that I was so proud to hand out. So having a business card, having a website destination doesn't mean that the world is going to pull out their credit card for you. So it takes a bit more strategy than that. And I think that the problem with having like these generic kind of websites is that they're not optimized to convert visitors. They're not optimized to take people through that journey of not knowing about you to the point where they become loyal, committed, regular customers of yours. And I think that a website which is built with a kind of sales funnel strategy in mind should do those things, and I don't really see that with Wix. So, or not to pick on Wix particularly, but any of those type of website builders, is I think that they do a decent enough job of giving you like a generic starter template. You've got to do a lot of work to get it to look the way you want it to, and at the end of the day, they still don't really do the job which I think you need, which is to have a place where you can send traffic, but that in turn gets those potential customers into your sales funnel. So that would be my biggest criticism, I think, and why I think BabelTEQ offers something a little bit different, which is you get a site which has pages, landing pages, web pages, which are created with that kind of strategy in mind, that kind of sales funnel strategy. And as we get into this interview, I think we're going to talk about part of what I believe a sales funnel optimized website page looks like, or at least one part of it is having a good call to action. But anyway, we'll touch on that, I'm sure.
Indeed, and that's basically where we want to get into next. But I just want to come back to this, because I think this is a very interesting point that you just raised. So design, having something fancy, beautiful, shiny, that's not all. If there is not a clear strategy behind it and an idea where we want this particular website visitor, what sort of action we want them to take, then it's all worth nothing.
Yeah, because if sales is the process of facilitating next steps, and your website is there to support a sales strategy, then then your website should move people through the steps and get them to take whatever it is, whatever the next step in the process is. And I think that a well-designed sales funnel optimized website should do that.
I love that. Thank you so much. Let's switch gears then, and let's get into the nitty-gritty here, and let's talk about call to action. So what can you just explain in simple layman terms, what is CTA, also known as call to action, and why is it so important to get it right?
Right. So call to action. So a call to action is usually a button on your page, on your web page, which tells visitors what they need to do next and what they can expect from doing it. So I don't know about you, but I've had this experience of being on some websites, and they might say have a great product to sell or a great service, and I really want to do business with them, and I've got I've got my credit card here in my hand. I'm take my damn money, but I can't figure out what I need to do next. So, and in the end, if you confuse them, you lose them, is the saying. So it should be very clear how people can take the next step to doing business with you. So if that means like click this button to get some free PDF resource, for example, then that should be clear. That's a call to action. If you want people to click a button to submit a lesson booking form, okay, that should be clear. That should be a clear call to action. If you want people to submit their credit card information so that they can purchase a 20 lesson one-to-one course curriculum from you, then that should be clear. There should be a clear call to action around that. So it's really just making very obvious to people what they need to do next and what they can expect from taking that action.
It just reminded me that a few years ago, when I started out as a digital marketer, I just remember that I collected a list of all sorts of call to actions, because I really wanted to dig into this topic, and I completely forgot about it until now, until you were actually starting to talk about it, because I just wanted to have a list, because sometimes you would want to get a little bit creative with these call to actions, but you don't want to be overly creative, I understand, because you also say that simplicity in the language should be taken into account. What do you actually mean by that?
Yeah, well, there's a great book by a guy called Stephen Krug, I think it is. One of the first books I ever read when I started getting into marketing. and his book is called Don't Make Me Think. And what he explains is that when people are on using the internet, it like their IQ just automatically drops like 50 points. You know, people don't want to expend a lot of brain power when it comes to using the internet. They don't want to spend a lot of energy trying to understand what your site is all about. So it should just be very apparent. You know, like even a caveman should be able to look at your site, figure out what you're offering, you know, what's in it for me, and what I've got to do to get it. Those things. So if you're using a lot of language to describe what it is that you want people to do, then you're asking people to commit a lot of mental energy up front with, you know, not when it's not quite obvious yet what benefit they're going to get from it. So simple is always best. You know, the KISS principle. Keep it simple, stupid.
Can you give us a few examples then of what sort of call to actions would be considered as good, like using less mental power or energy, and what are the more complicated ones that perhaps would not perform that well?
Yeah, so so I say that like a good call to action usually completes the sentence. I want to blank. Okay, so for example, send a message. Okay, so I want to send a message. That would be like a contact form, for example, or I want to join now. Okay, so join some sort of a membership registration. So I think just simple phrases like that, just 2 or 3 words at most, should be enough for a call to action, and it should imply some kind of action, some sort of dynamic action, I guess, like send, join, buy, shop. Words like that are always good. Yeah, and it should just be clear, like what's going to happen next. Like sometimes you see learn more as a call to action, and well, you know, I don't know if I really want to learn more. You know, maybe I've already learned enough. So sometimes I think it's you got to be careful about using call to actions that don't make it clear enough what's going to happen next.
Guilty as charged. I'm fairly sure that I'm using learn more quite a lot, and I wonder what could we do instead? Like, what sort of language could we use? Because if it's really just like a collection of information, it's like, or perhaps I should rethink the whole strategy, right?
Well,
this.
Well, this is where the craft comes in. I think it's the craft of the you know, the content writer, the people who are good at sales copy. You know, that's why they get paid what they get paid, is to figure out the right words and in the briefest but most effective possible way. What I'll tell you as a cardinal sin is you should never ever put on your site, click here. That's like you should never have to explain to people like how to use your website. So it should be obvious. It should be obvious how people can navigate your site. They shouldn't have to have some sort of operator's manual to get around your site.
Love that. Okay, so the click here, that's a no. Learn more, again.
So.
Okay, love that. But instead, clear, buy it, book it now. So this sort of language, but it has to be a clear idea what is actually happening when I'm doing it.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, and I mean, there are a lot of studies that have been done about like how some words are more effective than others. Like there have been some studies which say that if you use low commitment language, it improves the click-through rate. Like I think there was
that's
one.
exactly where I wanted to go next, because before you talk about that, I'm just remembering that you have this brilliant blog post that we will make sure to include in the podcast notes. So you've got this blog where you talk about 16 different tips for a better call to action, right? And I remember there is this point where you say, use low commitment language, and that really resonated with me, and here you are just starting to talk about that. So what's your idea here? Low commitment language.
Yeah, well, there was one study that was done, which if I'll probably get the numbers wrong, but I think it showed there was like a 90% higher click-through rate when they used shop now rather than buy now, because shopping implies less commitment than buying. And you know, I think people are just naturally a little bit cautious when they're online. You know, we don't want to commit ourselves to things that we regret later. You know, there have been these studies that have been done, which prove that people are more afraid of loss than they are motivated by gain. So we're all afraid of, like, you know, buying something and then having, like, you know, buyer's remorse later, or, you know, like giving out our email address and then being spammed, you know, to death over the coming weeks. So so people are kind of like a bit, I think, skeptical sometimes, especially if you don't have a well-known brand, people don't know much about you. So by having lower commitment language, then you're lowering the risk factor for them, and it makes it that much easier to get them to convert, to get them to take the action that you want to take. So by just lowering that risk factor, and also I think by including elements on your pages which address some of those objections. So by having, you know, statements on there like, you know, 30-day money back guarantee, or you know, we never spam guarantee, or something like that. You know, just anything that addresses these kind of objections can improve your conversion rate.
I'm just thinking about, so this feeds back into what you just said earlier about the funnel, right? So the website. What do you mean by funnel? I think I'm aware that that might be a bit of a tech language that we use in digital marketing. But what do you actually mean when you say funnel? So a website visitor lands in our online universe on our website, and then what happens?
Okay, well, so most people don't ask someone to marry them the first time they meet. So it's usually a lengthy process where you get introduced, you flirt a little bit, you know, maybe then you go on some dates and what have you. So the funnel concept is that you're really trying to start that relationship with your potential client, your potential customer. Rather than just, you know, asking them to buy from you right up. They don't know who you are. They don't know, you know, they don't know if they can trust you yet. So a sales funnel really moves people through that customer journey. And the way it usually starts, or at least I think the most effective way that you can start that, is by offering something of value up front. So it could be, I think the common way to do that is to offer something like a PDF ebook, you know, or a worksheet or an infographic or something. You know, we've all seen those they're called squeeze pages, email squeeze pages, where you hand them your email address, you enter your email address, and you get an email with a link to download this thing that you requested. And then so the deal is, now you've got this free resource. But the other party, the other side has your email address, and then as a vendor, as a website owner, I can then start that relationship with you by maybe giving you a couple of days, giving you another free resource. Maybe in a couple of days after that, I might send you a link to a YouTube video I found by someone completely third party who I think, you know, might be offering something of value to you in terms of information. So I'm building up this know, like, and trust, the know, like, and trust factors, to the point where we both feel comfortable with me saying, hey, Gabriella, I hope you've got value from my email series so far. By the way, I also have this service, and I'd like to invite you to take a trial lesson with me. If you'd like to take me up on the offer, here's the link to my lesson booking page, to my trial lesson booking page. And so a percentage of people are going to take you up on that offer, go to your trial lesson booking page, book a trial lesson with you, have a strategy session, and that gives you the opportunity to then really take that relationship to the next level, find out if you're a good fit for each other, and then take it from there. The next stage being, hopefully, get them to commit to take a number of lessons with you. That would be the best outcome. So you can see that through this journey, we're getting people to become familiar with seeing you in their inbox, and getting to know what you offer and how you can make a positive impact in their lives, and really perhaps solve a problem which they might be looking for answers for. So that's what I think a sales funnel does, and that's what I think a good website should support, that process.
That's how also the low commitment language
Yeah.
that we would use in these call to actions can actually be
Yes.
really helpful. There was this genius sentence when I'm going to listen back to this, then I want to make sure that I note it down, when you said that sales is in the funnel we are like helping the customer move to the next step and the next step, but that doesn't necessarily mean committing right away. And the marriage example was perfect to really bring this home.
Yeah. So I think that, if it's done right, if the sales funnel process is done right, then none of this should feel kind of salesy. None of this should feel like we're pressuring or arm twisting anyone, but it should just naturally flow, that over time people get to the point where they want to do business with you. They want you to be the the expert who comes in and the guide who helps them on the journey, on the path of wherever they want to go in their life, as somebody learning a language.
Perfect. And yeah, this sort of thing, that or approach, or the fact that we don't want to be pushy, we don't want to be pressuring anyone to take a next step. We just want to help them make an informed decision whether that next step is the right thing for them or not. This is how I try to reframe my mind whenever I'm having doubts about, okay, am I being a bit too pushy now? No, I'm just helping to make a next logical decision for the person.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people have a misconception about what sales really is, and I think a lot of people think sales is all about persuasion. You've got to persuade people. You've got to change people's minds. Well, when was the last time a stranger really persuaded you to do something you didn't want to do? I think hardly ever, probably never, right? So I don't think that's really how sales works in the modern day and age. So I think I have said this a few times recently, and I think teachers, coaches, tutors make excellent salespeople because we're good at listening to the other person. We're good hopefully at explaining things in a relatable way. And as a business owner, and you want to offer a business solution to people, these are the kind of skills that you need to develop, is being able to listen to people and then explain a solution in a way that they can relate to and easily understand.
So you do BabelTEQ, helping people get online and have a well-performing website. And you said you still teach English, right?
Yep. It's like it's not my main thing now, but I still do it. Yes.
And then what would you say, like, what is the most critical skill in marketing that has made a difference in your language business or BabelTEQ, any of those? Like, you as a marketer, for yourself, for your businesses, what is the most critical skill to have?
Okay, well, I'm not sure if this is a skill as much as a lesson, or something that I think I've learned, and this applies regardless of whether you're a language professional or in any kind of business, really. And that is, I think it's important to figure out what you want to be known for, like what your niche is. So what's your brand going to be? What do you want people to say when they talk about you? What do you want them to, how do you want them to remember you? So I think that, like, when I first started working for myself, I was, like, just taking any kind of work that comes in the door, like somebody wants a website. Yep, I'll do it. Somebody wants like an e-commerce shop. Yep, I'll do it. Somebody wants a logo design. Yep, I'll do it. And it's hard to say no, because, if someone's waving a fistful of cash in your direction, I mean, the cash is nice, of course, but it's also a bit of an ego boost. You're thinking, well, somebody really values my skills. But I think that can be a mistake, though. So being able to figure out in your own mind what you want to do and having that capacity to say no is actually a very powerful thing. So I think it's Warren Buffett said that really successful people, truly successful people, say no to almost everything, because you can't, because the marketplace doesn't reward a jack of all trades, realistically. If you want to be, but if you figure out how to focus on a niche, how to focus on being the expert in that segment, then you can start to build a brand for yourself. And having a brand and being known as the expert, as the authority, is a very powerful thing. It means that you have a lot of control over your own future. It's very hard for anyone to come along and knock you off. It means you can raise your rates because people pay more money for specialists. Brain surgeons get paid like 4 or 5 times what general practitioners get paid, and probably work less. It makes your whole work process a lot easier, because you're in a niche, you're doing the same kinds of things on a regular basis. So you're not creating a special workflow for every special snowflake who comes through your door. So in a lot of ways, like, having a niche I think it's a really important business decision to make, and that applies to anyone who's in business for themselves.
Yeah, and my story is a testament to what you just said, literally, because I specialize in working with people in finance,
right?
And just like you said, the moment I defined this very specific niche, I was able to kind of own it. And even though the whole business is a very boutique, small business, a small scale, at any one time I would only work with 10 clients, but still, it feels like I'm a sort of authority within that niche, because I understand the needs of these people. But having said that, every once in a while I would get other inquiries as well. And so it was interesting when you said, learn to say no. I would say no. If I don't feel that it's the right fit, then absolutely I have no problem whatsoever to say no. But the other day I had this client inquiry from a marketing executive. Would I say no? Probably I would not, and I didn't say no, because I'm very much into marketing. I'm really interested in that.
Sure, yeah.
So very interesting. Then my language is very targeted, and I'm trying to reach finance professionals only. And yet, what I'm saying also resonates with marketing executives.
Yeah. Well, it's not. I think it's not that big a jump from finance executives to marketing executives. But if somebody came along to you and said, "Hey, I'd like you to teach phonics to my 6-year-old daughter," what would you say?
That's a definite no from me. Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I just simply don't have it's just simply not me.
Right. That's right. So it's too much outside of your niche, isn't it? Yeah.
Great examples. Thank you for pointing this out. And well, to wrap up, if there is one final piece of marketing advice that you could give us, language professionals, meaning teachers, translators, interpreters, speech therapists, we have got lots of different listeners here on the podcast. Yeah. What do you think would it be?
Well, I've got lots of things I could say, but if I have to pick one, there's an airline company in America, Southwest Airlines, and the founder and the owner, he passed away recently, but I think his name's Herb Kelleher. And somebody asked him, does your company have a strategic plan? And he said, yeah, around here we've got a strategic plan. It's called doing things. And I think that would be my advice, is to actually get out there and take action. So, because I see too many ESL professionals who are like frozen deers in the headlights. They realize that where they are now is not where they want to be, but they have this like paralysis by analysis of thinking, oh my God, there are just so many things I need to do. I need to get a website. I need to get a curriculum. I need to get a LinkedIn account, and in the end they just stay where they are. 6 months from now they haven't moved. So I think, just momentum, just do a little bit each day, just every day. Say to yourself, okay, today I'm just going to do this little thing that's going to move me a little bit further closer to my goal. Just have a discipline of doing that. So, think about, what is the thing I could do today that's going to move me from here a little bit closer to my goal. So Seth Godin, who I admire a lot, he's a famous marketer. He says, whoever fails the most wins. And what he means by that is that, if you go into a casino, say, and you bet the house on one hand of blackjack and you lose, then that's it. Night's over. Go home. You're finished. But if you're playing if you're only betting a little bit on each hand, you get to fail a lot, but you get to win a lot as well. And God forbid, you might actually learn as you go and become a better player. And I think business is a little bit like that. Just be prepared, accept the fact that you're going to make mistakes along the way, and that's okay. You're going to learn a lot of things as you go through, and you make those mistakes. That's fine. And you're always evolving, and you're always developing yourself. You're always building up your entrepreneurial muscle, your ESL professional muscle, or your teaching professional, your business owner muscle, put it that way. So yeah, I would say take action. That's my advice.
To begin,
seize the day.
Seize the day, and to begin.
Yeah.
Loved it. Thank you so much, Paul, for joining me and sharing all these valuable insights. We will include Paul's links in the podcast notes, and make sure to check them out and follow his work. And I really hope that this conversation was useful. Again, my name is Gabriella Ferenzi, and if you want to get more bite-sized, easy to digest episodes on practical modern online marketing, then make sure to subscribe to this podcast. And for more resources, you might want to also visit gabriellaferenzi.com/thrive online, which is where I share even more. So all these links will be available in the podcast notes, including Paul's links and including Paul's blog post about those 16 call to action tips that we should implement. Paul, thank you very much again for joining me.
Thank you, Gabriella. It's been great. My pleasure.
And to our listeners, thank you very much for listening and tuning in. And to those of you who are following this channel on YouTube, thanks a lot for watching. And I will see you next time. Take care and goodbye now.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Bye-bye.